And we're live. I doubt we're going to get much viewership, but we're on the Meds Cafe channel, and we want to revisit offering up some useful information for people. And had a great conversation with Dr. Evan, who has been in most of the stores now as a vendor day. He's got a product, a CBD product, with more products coming under that line. He's very much interested in helping to educate people, and that conversation with him after he's been to the store has kind of helped to encourage me to want to get this going. So this is first time around. There are some people that had a hard time getting on, so I'll assume maybe that's one of the reasons we didn't get a little bit more participation. But we did get uh, Jim, Mike, and Joe. Joe and Mike are up in the Rogers City store, and Jim is pending the Ann Arbor stores. We're getting close to open there in a few days. And Jim and Dr. Evan both used to help run the Home of Medicine on Main Street in Ann Arbor for many years, very high standard place. And um, it's great to have that kind of insight, for these discussions. And Dr. Evan is a medical doctor who has been involved in research, including cannabis research with University of Michigan. And as I said, has developed, this product and is educating people and putting together a line of products to help people with, health and wellness. So with that, we were thinking that there are probably areas of the product selection that bud tenders, have at their disposal to offer to people who are inquiring about things. And some products, such as tincture and topicals, aren't as people aren't as well versed in those or know how to like add those maybe into a conversation for somebody seeking something for pain, or somebody who regularly uses a particular type of cannabis or cart or something other than that. How these things can be, work complementarily with these, other ways that they're already trying to use cannabis and that type of stuff. And we also wanted to get some people on to who are in stores or who have, insight into these things to come up with like further issues to explore out of interest, out of, just perceived need within the store. Like we could use some more information on some of these things, and to get some of that in the air and try to encourage some more people to give us some ideas on those things. So that's the idea here, and this is just getting this ball rolling. So we don't have to cover anything in particular, but I don't mind getting back to some of the stuff, Evan, that we kind of discussed before, just to get some headlines out about it. But I was wondering if like Joe, Mike, came on to like offer up some insight into some of those ideas, or have some questions or things like that too that we can take into consideration.
Well, I came here mostly as an audience to see how it went. A good starting point would be like how do you introduce CBD to a customer who would be reluctant to try it? Like what are some things that you could say where it's our biggest strengths that it may have over THC, for instance, Dr. Evans?
Sure, sure. First of all, thanks everybody, and thanks Jamie for putting this
Yeah, man.
together. A few things. I want to start first and foremost to say that what we talk about here is not medical advice. It's education. This is empowerment for employees, bartenders, consumers. Need to be very clear that cannabis is very powerful medicinal plant. It's not for everybody, but for a lot of patients and a lot of adults in our society, in our human family, cannabis can be a very effective tool for wellness. And this is really where how we can actually perceive cannabis as a tool and as a opportunity to educate and empower people. Again, this is not medical advice. So as far as the overall idea that I normally kind of try to educate and coach consumers on is that, and if I found when I was with at Home of Medicine with Jimmy talking to patients and consumers about cannabis, is that it can be a very effective tool for well-being, and to think the different categories of products as different tools for your toolbox, depending on what's going on, but depending on the goal that the consumer might have, and you can reach that goal in different kind of methods or different kind of tracks, and you can think about those tracks as the different kind of cannabis product lines that exist, which are inhalation to put it in your lungs, or you put it under your tongue, or you ingest it in your gut, or you put it on your skin. So these ideas can be very effective as a starting point for conversation and to educate the consumer about, okay, I know as an example, I normally used to smoke, but what else can I use? Why? Because when we use cannabis, you get in a downstream effect. So how can I, a person, an adult, really be able to not necessarily dictate, because this is not in absolutes, but have a good kind of say on that downstream effects? And you can do that by really controlling the initial conditions of the body before you use cannabis. So a conscious consumer, a conscious use, and you can potentially do that by understanding as a consumer the different product categories and how they work in the body and how you get effects because of depending on how you introduce it in the body. So the bud tender can be a very effective agent, for that. It can be the bridge between a human being and their biology with this very powerful medicinal plant ally, and the conversation, the chemical conversation that is happening in somebody's body, a bud tender, myself included, everybody here, we can have a very positive impact on patients and consumers and the general public in general, and people that are adults and they can use cannabis legally in our wonderful state. So it's really about empowerment and seeing cannabis as an additional tool for people, and how we can potentially, by educating people, be able to express this kind of tool more effectively, and becoming real collaborators with the consumer or the patient or the healthcare professional. We can do that. So it's very exciting for me to be able to share with Jamie and the team here. And the wonderful thing is that this will potentially live forever, way before all of us, basically impermanence. We're not going to be here, but this information can potentially continue to help people and change people's realities for years to come. So I'm very thankful, and I'm looking forward to questions and moving forward, and however the team wants to really proceed, I'm happy to be part of. So
Unmute yourself there, Jim.
Of course. Thanks for pointing that out. I really appreciate it.
I
Seriously.
didn't want to, but I knew I had to.
But sometimes, CBD and some of the surrounding components, is the answer for some people. They have a unique system that needs some certain things, and for whatever the approach, the reason they're seeking it, and it works. And so to have that in the mix of things that people use should be one of the options. And sometimes it in conjunction with other things is what works. And depending how sensitive somebody is, or what they're trying to seek out, what may work for them individually, that's a great thing to have as part of that process. And of course, we know that some people just feel more comfortable with it just to get started with anyway.
That one thing that really helps is just probing people when they come in to find out where they stand. Like, how much do they know about cannabis? Have they ever tried it? Anybody in their family use it? And just get that starting point, so that you can then tailor it to the information that they need. Because you might tell them too much info that they already know. And then people who don't know much, it's really nice to sit them down and talk to them, first of all, about how it's a non-toxic, and that it's not going to hurt you. And some of the things that we did at Home of Medicine, we would ask people to start their own journal to write down their experiences, and even set down the time that they initially take a dose, and set a timer for so long, like an hour and a half or so, to see how they react off that, and give themselves a few days, if they're trying something new, to figure out what that dosage is, because it's something that they really have to take accountability for. There's really no steadfast way of giving this medicine to people, because everyone reacts differently off it. So letting them know that they need to do it in their own way, slowly, methodically. That's one of Dr. Evans' words, and get it to the point where they find that sweet spot of pain relief.
Yeah, and Joseph, to your question as well now about CBD, I just want to let everybody have a chance to speak. I feel like I'm talking too much here, so I apologize about that. But
Hey, go
as
go
far
for it, man.
Yeah, talk.
as far as thank you, as far as CBD and especially for somebody that's reluctant, especially an elderly person, CBD is an excellent starting point because it's non-psychoactive. It doesn't get you high. It does have, just like THC, medicinal properties, or it can be effective for different symptoms, especially anxiety and inflammation. And like Jimmy is saying, open-ended questions can be very helpful to see, okay, this person that comes to me all the time and using cannabis because they tell you are anxious, potentially might not know about CBD. And the fact that you can introduce CBD either by ingestion, eating it, which is more of an extended release, or you can use a tincture, which is much more preferable than inhalation or smoking it, because you avoid a lot of kind of symptoms that you don't have with tinctures. And all of a sudden, the CBD, it's not, for CBD, for me, excellent starting point, but also it's not for people that use THC. It's not just THC or CBD. It can be either or both together. So it's really to educate and empower the consumer to really start seeing cannabis as a more than just one kind of bullet. It has a buckshot and birdseed and all of these different. I mean, maybe ammo is not the best example for cannabis, but what I'm trying to express is that
I follow you.
it can be, it's like it's all about love and respect here.
Absolutely.
In any case, so CBD can be a very effective additional tool that a lot of people are not thinking about, first of all. The second thing is that for patients that are really cautious about or anxious about starting cannabis use for well-being, CBD can be a very effective but a very effective initial introduction to cannabis. So both somebody that is using THC and cannabis for a long time, or somebody that's brand new, CBD can be a very, interesting axiom, a starting point for them.
Absolutely.
So again, very safe overall. If you look at the, science behind it, a very, very safe substance. Again, not for everybody, but very excellent starting point. And no psychoactivity, fantastic for anxiety and inflammation. Now, how you use it really plays a big role if you're going to use it for anxiety or inflammation, and how that looks in the consumer. But then again, that's the opportunity that the bartenders have to really educate and have this exchange of ideas with the consumer about CBD and THC and the ratios and ways of administration and how you introduce it and the dosing. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, Joseph, but it's just another tool for the bartender to have in their back pocket to really, help the consumer make an educated and empowered decision, and increase the cart volume. At the end of the day, we are a business and we have to think about that as well. And the consumer, if they watch this, they should also know that at the end of the day, it is an agricultural product, and you have to be educated and empowered as a consumer in decision-making process. So we can do that, and cannabis can be a very effective tool for that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've seen people that somewhat reluctantly begin their journey with cannabis with maybe some CBD topical or tincture or something like that, and a year later they're smoking joints with the best of us. It was just what it took for them to kind of like figure out how best to use it for themselves, and
Sure.
that could be with full on THC and full,
Sure.
smoking down.
I've also seen patients or consumers that they start with CBD, and guess what? That's all they needed.
Yeah, that's the answer. Sometimes I've seen that too. Yep.
Correct. So
So
it's
it's
not
good to be
about.
included as a choice, and that's what you're saying
Yes,
here. Like,
yes,
yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and a couple points about CBD. When you're talking about, Joe was asking, what how do you explain that to people if they don't know what it is? And I think you bring up THC, and you talk about how THC and CBD are components of cannabis, one of many that have been discovered as far as cannabinoids. You can bring up CBNs and some of the other things that are on the shelves right now, and CBGs, and just point to the fact that most of these have a psychoactive capacity, except for CBD. CBD actually can help take away the psychoactivity of THC if you have a ratio that's higher than the THC with CBD included. So,
Particularly for people who are sensitive, who get like that anxiety feel if, with a little bit too much THC or whatever, those are
Absolutely.
definitely good
Yeah,
information.
it was really, over a decade ago, just learning about that when CBD got on the market and learning about that and how it worked with THC. It's really a profound time in the science of cannabis for people who are, in the medical arena with medical cannabis. So seeing how it's progressed till today and it's just phenomenal. One thing that we always talked about back then was, how CBD and THC do work in tandem together for pain relief. So if you have a 1-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC, you're not necessarily going to feel a lot of that THC because of that 50-50 ratio. But what you're going to get is some really incredible pain relief, anxiety-wise as well as physical.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The science is, we have so much room to learn so much more. And today, earlier in a meeting, one of the store managers brought up a new terpene that was discovered, in which part of the description included sulfur. And I know that in recent years, this whole other dimension of these sulfides, I'm not sure if that's what they're referred to, but they're sulfur-based components that we don't know a whole lot about, but very likely or do contribute to essence and effect. And there'll be a whole other component, I believe, in the future of things that, to help evaluate more information about what's inside the plant, to help, consumers evaluate what might be best for them, particularly those who are, more sensitive about those types of things. So that'll be really interesting to see what unfolds from that kind of stuff and what more we can learn now that there's more research and things are a little bit more above board. Hey, Flom, did you happen to, no obligation, but did you happen to have any input or any particular questions or things to delve into?
I'm actually right now. I think you kind of have covered the basis for what I've got on top of my mind for the CBD. The introductory aspects really covered it. That's one of the major topics, points. So
of course, like the health and wellness approach gets into the full plan, and we can have further conversations about that and not have it restricted to CBD, but that is an important thing and probably an under discussed thing with some customers, and that's important to address.
Right.
And to somebody may have a particular cart or type of cannabis that they consistently use to help them out, and the suggestion that a topical or some tincture that's just CBD along with it could could help to provide some kind of relief or additional relief and from what they're seeking. Just there's many circumstances that could be in that discussion, but I don't think we're used to suggesting these things as often, and then being able to discuss them as well. So that's one of the reasons for this. And now Evan brought up getting deeper into how to estimate some of the ratios and help the more sensitive people out with some dosing ideas or what that means a little bit more and that kind of thing. That's something we could get more specific about and delve into in kind of a future discussion.
There's one thing I want to add. You just kind of reminded me of, and that is when you are talking with people who are trying cannabis for the very first time, and you're going to recommend, a certain product for them to try, you have to kind of give them a disclaimer or kind of a heads up that, hey, this is one option. So let's try this first. If this doesn't work, we can move over to this area, or we can move over to this and try this product instead, or this,
Right on.
So it helps people understand that, if this doesn't work and they're not going to just go, okay, I'm never trying cannabis again. That was stupid.
Yeah, this isn't that often, but there are people that have these kind of sensitivities, and you have to work with them kind of systematically to figure out type, delivery system, form, whatever those specifics might end up being, and it might be a few things before you home in on it. To give people that kind of education when they need it is important. Again, not all the time, but when those conversations come up, to be able to help bring somebody down that road is what we'd like to be prepared for. And talking about these things, staying up on it, could definitely help out. I think we got some stuff to follow up with. I think we got some good information already right here. Again, I don't want to drag on too much, but I did want to get this started, and I do appreciate everybody's participation and people who come in and watch this afterward. Please, whether it be by comments here, by just by texting or emailing me or something, let's just get some more ideas flowing and continuously have some good conversations, discussions, up to date education on things that would be helpful in the stores. And ideas can come anytime you come up with something. And Evan is, obviously with your insight, as much as you'd like to participate in some of those discussions, that would be very welcome.
No, I would love to. Again, thanks for the invitation. I definitely want to do this, and I also, echo you in the sense of everybody in the team. Write your questions. You have questions about something. This is the opportunity to collaboratively together as a team come and really understand. And we are all experts, and we have our own background and understanding of cannabis. And collectively, we can do a much better job for ourselves, let alone for our consumers and our patients. So please write questions, engage. Let's learn and empower ourselves too, so we can empower our consumer and patients. And again, I consider myself very fortunate to be able to do this. So thank you to everybody, and looking forward to further conversations in the future.
Yeah, I am as well. And I, again, really appreciate it. We'll call this one quits, but in the future, we'll come back on for another, 20 minutes, half hour or something, and focus on some good stuff to utilize and be available for people to participate in the discussion and to offer up their information too. We have some people who are in the stores who would like to give some presentations also in this forum. That would be helpful. So we'll do that too.
I love it.
All right. Thanks everybody. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everyone. Good seeing
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for having
We
us.
will be back.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks.